Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners, to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Brier Grieves Insurance. Protecting your assets starts with a company that you can count on. So whether that is auto, homeowners, flood, boaters, or business insurance, there's nobody better in the business to work with than the great people over at Brier Grieves Insurance. For more information about them, you can visit their website, briergrievesinsurance.com, or give them a call at 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166. It is a Tuesday edition of the Pewter Report podcast. We appreciate each and every one of you coming in to join this show, rocking and rolling with us this afternoon. We're going to talk about a couple of different Bucs topics, surgery for a very important player on this team. And we're also going to talk about contract extensions. Could there be any coming in 2026 in this offseason before the Bucs hit the field and get the 2026 season underway? So a lot to get into. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is Scott Reynolds, SR, PewterReport.com. How we doing, Scott?
Doing good. Doing really good. We're counting down the days. We're less than a week away from heading out to the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis, where we'll be freezing. The weather's so nice out right now, Matt. I'm sorry. This has been a cold winter. When you get old like me, man, you reach for the cardigan sweater. And I thought I'd have to hang it up by now because we froze in Mobile. It was cold there, and it's been cold here in Florida. And now it's warm in Florida. It's going to be cold next week in Indy. But you know what? We're gonna take one for the team. We'll do it for the people, and we're gonna talk to Jason Light and Todd Bowles a week from tomorrow. So we're excited about that. And you mentioned a surgery, an offseason surgery, and Joe Bucs fan reported it first. We confirmed it that Bucky Irving had shoulder surgery this offseason. Not a huge surprise, right? Because he had two injuries that he suffered in the Week 4 loss to Philadelphia. A foot injury, which healed enough during the season for him to return, but then also the shoulder injury. And when Bucky was kind of going through some mental anguish, right, that kind of slowed his recovery down, and that's why the team didn't put him in injured reserve, right? Typically, if the player's going to be out for 4 weeks, like say, for example, Luke Gedeke, right, out for, I think it was 5 weeks for him, they put him on injured reserve. But with Bucky, they were hoping that he would be back in time for him to not miss 4 games, but dealing with some of the mental anguish and turmoil he was kind of going through that kind of slowed his recovery a little bit. The team wasn't, they didn't regret not putting him in injured reserve. But typically for the shoulder injury, he probably should have gone in injured reserve. But he did make enough of a recovery to come back and play. But we criticized him, and not like picking on him, but just kind of pointing out that when he came back, he didn't average 4 yards a carry in any of the games that he returns from week 13 on from the Cardinals game, and turns out maybe it was the shoulder, right? That shoulder wasn't 100%, and he had some offseason surgery to take care of it. Now, we did like a little bit of digging as well. You might remember another offensive player that had an injured shoulder, Baker Mayfield, right? He was seen wearing a sling after that Rams game. And we even did a show thinking he might not suit up for the next week's game, but he did, and played against the Cardinals and ended up playing the rest of the season. Baker Mayfield did not need shoulder surgery, we can report. So Bucky Irving had the shoulder surgery done, but Baker Mayfield just allowed that shoulder to heal on its own. No surgery for Baker Mayfield this offseason, which is good because he took a little bit of a beating last year, Matt.
Yeah, anytime you have to take a surgery, whether it's big or it's small, it's still like a very serious thing. We saw that with Tristan Wirfs last offseason, and he ended up being good to go. I hope with Bucky Irving, we see that the first couple of games of the regular season in 2026, he's off to the races, making big runs, being a huge focal point of Tampa Bay's offense, and we can just go, oh, okay, it was the shoulder that was bothering him when he returned last season, because Bucky did not look like the rookie Bucky that he was the season before. And again, you're not hoping for injury, but hopefully that's the reason why he didn't look like what we know about him and why fans go crazy over Bucky. You have to remember too, it took Bucky was at practice for I want to say 2 weeks before he got into the game. So just getting back out there, getting reacclimated to everything, and then toting the rock and running the football, it was a long, arduous process to get Bucky Irving back to playing, which I think kind of factored in a lot as well. So hopefully Bucky can recover quickly and safely and should be good to go by OTA's training camp, and certainly best case scenario or worst case scenario, at least by the start of the regular season. It is good news about Baker Mayfield, though, because there's obviously a lot riding on the line for him this offseason. If he did get a surgery, I think even before he hits the field for the next season, how much would having a surgery right now kind of alter the plans for is he going to sign an extension? Does he want to sign an extension? Do the Bucs want to give him one? So the fact that he gets to avoid that, I think, is super important, especially when you're talking about the quarterback position. And it wasn't his throwing arm, but it's still a lot of torque on the body. And, he had rib injuries as well throughout the season. So, I mean, these guys, this goes for everyone in the league. I mean, you just need so much time to heal because it's such a collision type of sport. So hopefully Bucky and Baker and everyone else is recovering quite well as they gear up for 2026.
You're so right, man. I remember Rondé Barber telling me, he's like, this is not a contact sport. This is a collision sport. This is like going into a car wreck. It's like having 17 car wrecks in the fall is really what it is. It's your body gets jarred. It's one thing to take one hit. When you're running back and you get 17 carries, guess what? You're getting tackled like 17 times outside of the touchdown you might score, right? Where you're not getting tackled, you might still be getting hit. So it's a collision sport. These guys take a beating, and that's why I absolutely frigging can't stand the Thursday night football games. It's typically bad football. It certainly was for the Buccaneers this year. They lost to the Falcons, but we've seen this team and others just be too tired and banged up. And I go back to that game in Atlanta in 2024. If you remember, Matt, the Buccaneers beat the Eagles the week prior, and it was literally one of the hottest games at Raymond James Stadium, on record. It was brutally hot, and they took it to Philly. But that game took a lot out of the team physically, right? It was just so hot. I liken it to almost playing like a game and a half on Sunday because it was just so hot. And then you basically have walkthroughs until Thursday, and then you got to play. And of course, you're traveling to Atlanta on Wednesday for that 2024 Thursday night game. Remember, the Buccaneers jumped out to a halftime lead. They had the lead, and I just literally think they ran out of gas. They just didn't have enough in the tank to finish. The Falcons came back and tied it, took it to overtime. They had the slant for the touchdown. I think it was Kadero Hodge maybe who scored that. Just a huge momentum changing win that happened for the Falcons. And if the Bucs didn't play on Sunday, or if that Bucs Falcons game was on a Sunday the next week, I think they probably have enough in the tank to finish that and walk off with the win in Atlanta. So I'd love to see, for the good of the players, go to 18 games. That's what the owners want anyways. Fine. 2 preseason games, go to 18 games, 2 bye weeks. Yeah. There should be a mandatory 2 bye weeks for every team. And one of those bye weeks should occur before the Thursday night game. So if you're going to have a Thursday night game, and I think every team should to make it fair, you have a bye week, and then you play the Thursday night game. And then guess what? Then you have 10 days off to recover, right? It's like you have a bye week, then a mini bye, and then you're going to have another bye at another juncture. But just to make these players play on a short week after Sunday it's criminal to me. And I can't believe that they, that the NFL PA and the NFL can look at everybody with a straight face and saying, we believe in player safety. What are you doing? Come on.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. What I was going to say is I wish the NFL could find a way to, you play Thursday night football, but to your point, like give them a little bit more time off in between, or have the bye and then allow them to play Thursday. And then maybe they play 2 Thursdays in a row, but you get that, 7 days of rest, kind of like when the Cowboys and the Lions play on Thanksgiving.
Right.
And then I think they played each other the next Thursday night game because they both played on Thursday. But unfortunately, we don't live in that world because, quite frankly, the only thing the NFL cares about is the almighty dollar. Yeah. And you can see that when Roger Goodell is up at, press conference right before the Super Bowl being, I love what the refs have done this season. I have no problem with, how they've officiated.
Okay.
They don't care about the integrity of the game. They don't care about player safety. They don't care about players traveling from, one place of the country to 15 hours away in another place. And we're just going to ruin the tradition of the Super Bowl winning team hosting Thursday Night Football to begin the season because, hey, we got to go to Australia.
Right.
And we don't have the Seahawks going to Australia. So we actually have to start the season there. Yeah. It all comes down to just dollars when it comes to the NFL.
It does.
Player safety, who cares? As long as we don't get sued, we got no problem with what's going on. So I don't know. They're probably going to fight for an 18-game season with one bye so you can get more players out and the product out a little bit more. The problem is, what are we going to do? I'm not going to not watch football, even if I wasn't working at Pewter Report. If I was just a fan, I'm not going to not watch football. I'm still watching college football every single time. There's no good or direct answer other than try to give these players a week in advance before you play Thursday Night Football, but it's just not going to happen. So we're just going to suffer with a crappy product.
To me, it's like, what's happening in February? Like on the landscape, right? We're actually going to have a Super Bowl next year on Valentine's Day. So, guys, I'm just warning you right now: be prepared. Okay,
hang out during the day.
If you're married, if you have a girlfriend, you better do something that Sunday before to make up for it, because for the first time ever, Valentine's Day will be the day that will be Super Bowl Sunday. So, I'm like, my whole thing is if you have to, push the calendar back a week or, like start football a week earlier, I don't care. I really don't. There's nothing going on in February anyways, right? It's like, you're the middle of the hockey season, middle of the NBA, baseball hasn't started yet, right? I mean, like right now you've got Olympics going on. That happens once every, 4 years. So to me, like, push the Super Bowl back to the 3rd week of February. I don't care. I mean, do whatever you have to do to get an extra bye week for these players. To me, that's the most important thing. I think it's going to make for a better product. I think it's going to help with recovery. I think you're going to see less serious injuries as a result, and, thankfully Bucky Irving had surgery. I'm not sure. Yes. Somebody asked if it was a labrum. I don't know the severity of it, but from what I understand from my source, he should be back for the offseason workouts. Those start in April. That's phase 1 conditioning. That's lifting and running. Phase 3 is, I believe that's the OTAs. Those happen after the draft. So will Bucky be on the field by May? I think that's the expectation. And that's when you want him out there doing football things, because he's a football player. So that's good news. For Baker Mayfield, though, he was our cover guy on the podcast graphic today. Big question, right? Should the Buccaneers extend Baker Mayfield? Let's kind of go through the list of likely candidates. We'll kind of set the table first, then we'll talk about this, right? So this is not, do the Bucs, are they going to, or should they re-sign Levante David or Mike Evans, right? Those are the 2 names right now in free agency. We're talking about the guys that are going to be in a contract year in 2027, but they're in the last year of their contract. So do you want these players playing in their contract year? Now, there's a couple Buccaneers that in a sense, it is going to be a contract year, even though 2027 is not going to be their final year of their deal. But Zion McCollum better play pretty well, because he got a big contract extension last year. Chris Godwin got he signed a new 3-year deal last year. So those 2 players are under contract, but they better play well. But we're talking about the players who are literally playing in their last contract season in Tampa Bay. And Baker Mayfield is one of those, right? Kalijah Kancey is not necessarily one of those players, because even though this is year 4 he's entering, the team will have a 5th-year option that we expect that they will pick up. So Doing that, that'll push his contract year off to the 2028 season. So he'll be under contract not just this season, also in 2027 with the 5th-year option. So 2028 will be the year he will be slated for a free agency unless he has a contract extension done early, say next year, right? But really, one of the big names is, aside from Baker Mayfield, is Yaya Diaby, right? He is entering that final year of his contract, and we're looking at the 2023 draft class, in a sense. Cody Mauch is another one of those players, 2nd-round pick in 2023. The other notable name, we're not talking about backups like Payne Durham, right? We're talking about starters.
Right.
Servassier Dennis is one of those players that is in a contract year, right? And his situation as a starter is certainly more tenuous than Cody Mauch and Yaya Diaby. Then there were a couple other guys as well. Vita Vea is playing in his contract season, right? There he is talking to Elijah Roberts. But Vita Vea, at age 31 now, is playing in a contract year. And then I think the other big name is the kicker, Chase McLaughlin, right? He's also in a contract year as well. So those are the main players that we're talking about when it comes to this. And I think the conversation starts at the quarterback position, Matt, because Baker Mayfield is set to make $40 million this year. We've done enough research asking our NFL sources and also Josh Capo, our resident in-house salary cap expert. $50 million is the floor right now for Baker Mayfield. If the Buccaneers just cut him tomorrow, he signs with another team right now for at least $50 million. There will be teams, Matt, that don't even need a quarterback. They would cut their quarterback or make their current quarterback the backup to pay $50 million to get Baker Mayfield. So that's the floor. The big question is, does Baker Mayfield want to do an extension this offseason? Or does he want to sit there and say, well, you know what? If I put up 2024 numbers with Zach Robinson from that Sean McVay LA Rams offense that I did with Liam Cohen, 41 touchdowns, 4,500 yards, 71% completion percentage, I might go from $50 million to $60 million a year. And that over a 3-year deal is an extra $30 million. So it starts with Baker Mayfield, Matt. First of all, would you extend Baker now if you're the Buccaneers? And then second, do you think they will?
I'm kind of looking at this from Baker Mayfield's perspective. If I'm Baker Mayfield, and we know Baker believes in himself more than anybody, if I'm Baker, I'm not signing an extension. I'm betting on myself and saying I'm going to get a big contract, and I hope it's with the Bucs, but I'm willing to go somewhere else. Because Baker has seen in this league, there's loyalty only up to a certain amount. And maybe Jason Light is that exception to the rule because he has made some, I guess we can call it sentimental signings. Yeah. But I think there's something in the NFL, especially at the quarterback position. Once you achieve a certain level of success, it's almost like teams will get beer goggles on this player and say, oh, he's done it before. Right. He can do it again. And I think of examples, I don't know why the Colts keep coming to mind, but like them taking a chance on not Phillip Rivers this season, but a couple years ago when he went there. And Matt Ryan went to Indy as well. Yeah. I think right now, Baker, in his time with the Bucs, has built up enough equity where even if he has a similar season this year in 2026 that he had in 2025, people, when they think about Baker Mayfield, and front offices, when they think about Baker Mayfield, they're still going to think about that monumental 2024 season. Yeah. So if other capable teams of that. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So other teams that might be quarterback needy will say, well, Baker's done it before. He can do it again if we bring him into our system and whatever the case may be. Now, it also depends on who needs a quarterback, what type of suitors, and what type of bidding war do you get. From the Bucs' perspective, I would give Baker Mayfield a contract extension because when you look at
how much? At 50?
I would give him a 3-year deal. I would love to shoot for $55 million per year. Okay. I would settle for probably right around that 60 range, maybe 61, 62. Just
so you pay him right now $60 million.
I would want to go for 55, but I don't think Baker would sign up for that. That's
Okay.
the problem.
Yeah.
It's how much would I be willing to go? Because when you look at franchises, your eras are basically based on the quarterback. You had the Jameis
Right.
Winston era, then it was the Tom Brady era. It's monumental if you lose Baker Mayfield after this season. You are essentially starting over because you don't have a good draft position and you don't have another quarterback in-house. So I would love to sign up Baker 3 years, 50 to 55 million. But realistically, if I'm Baker, I'm saying, no, I can do even more than that. That's the number I would try to get. And if you're the Bucs, will they get it done? I don't know. I tend to believe Jason Light and Mike Greenberg and company. They tend to keep their guy if they want to keep their guy, going back to the 2020 season and the 2021 season. So there's a lot to digest there, but it's a delicate situation at the same time.
Right. You know, and let's face it. I mean, not everybody is under the belief that Baker Mayfield is, you know, the end all be all quarterback, right? That there are some that saying, you know, he's not good enough to win a Super Bowl. You know, he's good, but not great, right? Or there's some that even think he's not that good. I'm sorry. It's like,
right.
I think at his very worst, Baker Mayfield, and let's just say it right now. Baker Mayfield right now is the 19th highest paid quarterback in the league. If I have that correct, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yes, $19 million. He is averaging $33.3 million on that 3-year, $100 million deal that he signed back in 2024, the 2024 offseason. Okay. So right now, Baker Mayfield is the 19th best quarterback in terms of pay, in terms of how much he's averaging per year. So for those of you that say he's good, but not great. Okay. Well, he's right in that range, right? When you think that he's capable of 41 touchdowns and 4,500 yards and 71% completion and helping you win 10 games, et cetera, and score 30 points per game, like he did in 2024, if he were able to achieve those numbers again, Bucs fans, would you say he's not even a top 10 quarterback in your mind, the skeptics? But let's just say, is he outside the top 10? Like if he's that good where he's making the Pro Bowl for, you know, second year in a row, you probably, I think, if you're being honest, would say, yeah, but I wouldn't put him in the top 10. Okay, that's fine. Right. Mm-hmm. So if you're saying that's good enough for him to make at least $50 million, which again would be the floor right now if he were just to be cut loose in free agency, $50 million would make him, guess what? The 12th highest paid quarterback. So
he's right. The problem.
He's right outside the top 10, right? That's exactly where you, as the Baker Mayfield skeptic, Bucs fans, think he should be. So he's already there. Whether you like the $50 million or not, if you're agreeing that he's outside the top 10, boom, that's $50 million. Okay. Now, the crazy thing is you think there's no way that he's worth $60 million, right? $60 million is going to be the new horizon for quarterbacks. It just is. And the Dallas Cowboys did something really, really, really stupid a couple of years ago. They paid Dak Prescott $60 million. Matt, what do we typically see when you sign a player and you make him the highest paid player at his position, right? The Buccaneers did that with Antoine Winfield Jr., and he was the highest paid defensive back at like just over 21 million for like a minute.
Right.
And then the next guy, you know, got about $500,000 over him. You incrementally leapfrog each other, right? You go from 21 to 22. Then you go to 22.5. Then the next guy gets 23. That's how you typically do it. Steven and Jerry Jones did something really, really, really stupid. They didn't just leapfrog. They did like the hopscotch jump, where you're just like jumping like way ahead of the market. And they gave Dak Prescott $60 million a year, okay? Joe Burrow is the second highest paid quarterback at $55 million. That's a $5 million difference, right?
Yeah.
Josh Allen, same thing at 55. Jordan Love, same thing at 55. Trevor Lawrence at 55. The next group of players, Matthew Stafford and his next deal, he's probably going to say, shoot, if Dak Prescott's worth 60, that fool hadn't won any Super Bowls. I've won a Super Bowl and I'm a MVP candidate, et cetera, I'm at least worth $60 million. And that's where Baker Mayfield has an argument, right? If he plays this contract year out and he takes the Bucs into the playoffs and, they're averaging 30 points per game again, and he's having that type of a season, he's going to sit there and say, I'm better than Dak Prescott. They can't even get to the playoffs, much less win a playoff game in Dallas. But I'm worth $60 million. Oh, and by the way, if you don't think I'm worth 60, well, I'll remind you, NFL, Tua Tagovailoa, he made $53.1 million, right? So I'm better than Tua, right? He's getting ready to get cut in Miami. And, Jalen Hurts is getting, all the boos in Philadelphia. I mean, the guy won a Super Bowl one year, then the offense kind of really crumbled last year. Jalen Hurts is making $51 million a year. So those are the comps for Baker Mayfield. He's going to sit there and say, I'm better than Jalen Hurts. I'm better than Tua. I'm better than Dak. And what are those numbers? Those numbers are 51 million. I'm going to leapfrog him. 53.1. I'm leapfrogging him. And shoot, if the Buccaneers win 11 games in 2026 with Baker and the offense rolling, he might have a case for 60 million.
Yeah. What Tampa Bay needs is for the rest of the league, other owners in the league to essentially all rally around the idea of we're just not going to continue to overpay for quarterbacks. There was the Tom Brady model of Brady is going to take less money. He did it a lot with New England, but he did it with the Bucs as well, where he's going to take less money in order for the team to go out and pay some of their other players, and therefore they can, field a competitive team by being able to pay some of their other players. Patrick Mahomes has taken that mantle as well, where Mahomes is getting paid $45 million per year. Mahomes could easily be the highest paid quarterback in the league if he wanted to, but he took the Tom Brady model of I'm going to take less. Josh Allen at $55 million has done that to a degree as well. He's still paid a very high amount and tied for the second highest in the league, but him at $55 million, he could argue he gets $70 million for how good of a quarterback that he is. So the hope for Tampa Bay and for other teams that they're going to say, all right, we're not going to overpay for the Daks and the Tuas of the world, and we got to have this number come down a little bit. The problem is, as soon as one team takes a stand, that's when the other team stabs that first team in the back and says, no, we'll swoop in and get the quarterback because we need the quarterback. It's a competitive league. It's a dog-eat-dog world in the NFL. So maybe Baker, because the sentimentality of all of it and how Tampa Bay was able to bring him back, maybe he's willing to say, okay, I understand we got to pay some other guys, offense and defense. I won't break the bank for everybody and try to get $65 million. I'll settle for the Josh Allens and whatever at $55 million. That would be ideal. But if you're Baker, does he want to do it?
Yeah, it might be a thing too where he goes to Jason Light and Mike Greenberg and says, guys, I appreciate the 3-year, $100 million deal that you gave me, right? But that year that I signed that, I was a Pro Bowl quarterback. By the way, I'm the only 2-time Pro Bowl quarterback in Bucs history, right? Tom Brady didn't get 2 Pro Bowls. Brad Johnson didn't. It's me. I'm the 2-time Pro Bowl quarterback. And I had a phenomenal season in 2024. And guess what? I didn't come back to you the next year and say, I want to redo my deal. I played on it, right? $33.3 million. I made that in 2024. And I didn't say, I need a pay raise. I played on it for 2025. And I didn't even come back after you guys and say, hey, I've established myself now as a 2-time Pro Bowler. And, we've made the playoffs now. And in the first couple of seasons that I've been doing this, I'll play 2025 for my current amount, right? And he's gotten some performance incentives, right? He's hit some of those. So the 33.3 turned into 40 million this year. Now the Buccaneers said, hey, thanks for not coming to us saying you're worth 50 right now. We're going to guarantee you're 40. How's that sound? Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Right. So Baker's been very agreeable to this and has not made a penny more than his contract had dictated for. Now he had some incentives, which gave him more money, but that was baked into the contract. So I think now, I'm not saying Baker's going to play hardball, but this is not exactly a situation like Green Bay where you have Aaron Rodgers, they spend a first-round draft pick on Jordan Love, right? Where they can sit there and do that handoff and say, gosh, Aaron, we love you. You're a legend here. But, we have Jordan Love, who is our first-round draft pick, and he has ascended, and he's younger, and he's ready to go. And, you're asking too much, and we'd rather invest in the younger player, right? That happens sometimes. But, it even happened in Minnesota. They got rid of Kirk Cousins, and they drafted J.J. McCarthy, right? So they even did that in Atlanta. When Kirk Cousins got there, they drafted Michael Penix out from under him, So right now it's Connor Bazelak, Matt. I mean, that's who they have on the roster. So Baker Mayfield right now is gonna be like, all right, if you're not going to pay me, who are you going to get, right? And he knows that, and the team knows that, right? So, it's like, I appreciate you, Realtor Dave Zussman. Baker should not be paid over $40 million. If the Buccaneers cut him right now, he gets $50 million. So if you don't pay him $40 million, if you don't pay him 50, he's gone. Then who do you have? Then you have nobody. Okay. So then you're looking at drafting a quarterback in the first round, starting a rookie quarterback. You don't get your edge rusher. You don't get the trade for Max Crosby because you need the first rounder for a quarterback, right? There's no inside linebacker in the first round. There's no Sonny Styles. There's no edge rusher. You're starting over with the rookie quarterback. So, that's where we're at. The quarterback class next year is not great in free agency.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. It's not a good QB class this year. No. Going into the draft. The other side of it too, though, is if you're the Bucs. First of all, the whole Pro Bowl thing, I wouldn't put too much stock into. I mean, he was a Pro Bowl alternate for both of those games, so he didn't even get in. So if Baker's using that as an argument, I'd be like, all right, well. Shador Sanders. A lot of people in the comments were like Shador Sanders was a Pro Bowler this year. I don't know how much that holds.
It's becoming a joke now, but I'm just saying, on your football card, and trust me, when it comes to Hall of Fame voting, it's still a thing
for sure. Because people forget.
Just ask Levante David, who's been to one Pro Bowl, right? It's going to be an
people forget that like Snoop Huntley was a Pro Bowl quarterback.
Exactly. Yeah. So
the question though is if Baker does have another, we'll say pedestrian compared to what he did in 2024. Right. Well, then he's clearly not worth $60 million. What kind of number do you get at that standpoint? So that's kind of the measuring stick of all of this.
And you know what? I think if I'm the Buccaneers, I don't want to extend Baker right now either. Right? And it's not to say I don't want him, but I would want to know: was the 2024 year? Was that just your career outlier? Was that just your magical season where you just were throwing touchdowns left and right, and also too, let's be fair about this. He also was tied for the league lead in interceptions with Kirk Cousins with 16 that year. The picks came down this year, but so did the touchdowns, right? So I'm just looking at this from a fair perspective. I'm with you, Matt. If I'm Baker Mayfield, I don't want to do a contract extension right now. I want to see the most I could get because Baker's going to be 31 this year, right? So
yes,
3 more years that'll put him as a free agent when he's 34 years old, right? 31, 32. Yeah. So be 34 years old the next time. We're seeing quarterbacks play longer. Now, depends on how reckless Baker Mayfield continues to play and how the injuries, pile up, or can he escape those injuries and stay healthier as the years go by. But, if that's the case, you get another contract. You get another shot at a contract. We're seeing Matthew Stafford in his late 30s, play. Aaron Rodgers in his early 40s play. So I'm of the opinion if I'm Baker Mayfield, I wait to see if I can maximize my value. I do a 3-year deal, nothing longer than that, because I want another shot at another contract. And if I'm the Buccaneers, I'm okay right now because I want to know, can you duplicate that season? Are we getting a 40-plus touchdown kind of guy, or even like a 35 touchdown guy? Or is the career norm for him 2023, 2025? We're going to get an average 25 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. I want to know what I'm getting, I guess, if I'm the Buccaneers. And I want to know how much I can make if I'm Baker Mayfield. So I would say pause right now on the contract extension. Let him play his contract year out. I think Baker wants to do that.
Yeah, he absolutely should. And I believe Baker can be the starting quarterback of a successful team, maybe even a Super Bowl
Yeah.
winning team. We just saw it with Sam Darnold. I think it's more of like, do the Bucs have all of the pieces around him, and not just the offensive side, because we've talked a lot about, hey, returning offensive line that's played together for a while, Mecca Buka, and Jalen McMillan, still young, Bucky Irving going into year 3. It's more of the defensive side as well. It almost feels like the Bucs are in a situation, Baker aside, they kind of need to get their ducks in a row with the rest of their team. Because then it's like, okay, well, then we've assembled Baker with as much as we possibly can in terms of talent. Or, not that it's going to be Tom Brady 2.0, but we have everything in place. Let's even get a cheaper quarterback, or a quarterback that wants to come here and play and win. That's another way that they can kind of explore it if they don't want to use that money specifically on Baker, which opens up a lot of money too.
Yeah. The other thing too that we probably need to talk about, is when you look at Baker Mayfield's injuries. Let's say, for example, he suffers a catastrophic injury this year. Let's say he breaks his leg, knock on wood, it doesn't happen, tears his ACL, whatever. Then you're glad you don't have Baker Mayfield on the hook for $50 million, especially let's say if he gets hurt this year in November and he's going to miss the first half of the 2027 season. Okay. Now you might have to go out and sign another really good quarterback, right? A starting caliber quarterback. And it might give you some pause. Let's say he's got a really wicked elbow injury or shoulder injury, right? That's going to require maybe a year's worth of rehab or whatever. Then guess what? The price tag goes down, right? It's like the greatest ability in football is availability. And the way he plays, he subjects himself to some big hits. But at the same time, even Tom Brady, the statue that he was, right? The very first game, I forget what year it was. It was at Kansas City. Very first game of the season. He had a blitzing safety take out his knee, tear his ACL, and Brady was out for the entire year, right? That was I think Scott Castle took over or Matt Castle.
Yeah.
Matt Castle took over. And it was either Scott or Matt, right? We're doing the show here,
right?
So it was Matt. Matt Castle took over, and then you had to play a whole year without Brady. So I think that's another probably good reason to wait, just to see, does he get through 2026 unscathed, right? So, I'll say this too. We're going to make you wait until tomorrow's topic, but the good news is it's less than 24 hours away from the next Pewter Report podcast. Does Tampa Bay have enough core talent? Like Matt was talking about, you got to look at the entire team around Baker. And what does this talent look like going forward, right? We're going to peer a little bit into the future. We'll look at this year, but then, the draft is coming up, free agency is coming up. Does this team need to still acquire a lot more talent to get where it wants to be, or are they closer, right? We'll talk about that tomorrow at 4:00. On Thursday, the Bucs are under pressure in 2026. Bucky Irving's one of those players that needs a rebound season. He's coming off of shoulder surgery. We'll tackle that topic at 4:00. And then on Friday's show for our Pewter Insider Show, which is our 1:30 podcast, Matt Matera and I do it every Friday. There are some exceptions, but most Fridays, I should say. The sleeper position, the Bucs must upgrade. We're going to be talking about that. Also doing a little bit of a combine preview because we're going to be in Indianapolis next Tuesday through Saturday. We leave Monday after our Monday podcast, topic to be determined. But we know what's coming on Tuesday, Matt. Jason Light and Todd Bowles will be addressing the media. They're going to do 2 press conferences. One's going to be live at the podium for the national media as well as local reporters, but then they're also going to do another, and this is kind of standard practice, they'll do another local media only presser where we'll ask more questions, and we'll have all of the reaction to both of those press conferences on Tuesday's show, live from Indianapolis as we kick off our combine coverage. Looking forward to that.
I know we're talking about contract extensions, but there was something that was just reported that I do think we have to address. This is from Kimberly A. Martin, who works for ESPN, says, tweeted out, wide receiver Mike Evans will, in all capitals, will return in 2026. His agents, Derek Gilmore and Darren Jones, tell me the future Hall of Famer will play this upcoming season and will explore his free agency options. One of the league's most consistent playmakers will be back, but we'll see if it'll be with the Bucs. So a little bit of news there
Yep.
for sure. We talked a lot about Mike, and we talked a lot in terms of we always thought Mike was coming back. So I'm not exactly shocked by this news.
Right.
I think it's good to see that Mike isn't retiring. He still feels like he has some left in the tank to produce and be a big-time player. I hope it's with Tampa Bay. I think we can all say that. We want Mike to finish his career with the Bucs, however long it may be. It might not just be one more season. It might be 2, maybe even 3 more seasons. But I am happy nonetheless that Mike will be in the league playing somewhere. Hopefully it's with Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And it certainly gives us something to ask Jason Light at the Combine about how badly do you want Mike Evans back this season?
Yeah. And it might not come down to money. That's the thing. And we've tried to be warning you guys a little bit, that this is not a slam dunk, right? The easy narrative for Buccaneer fans that love Mike, and I don't know if there's any that don't love Mike, but this is not a slam dunk. This is not, oh, he's going to come back. I mean, Baker, we'll talk to him, and Zach Robinson. Folks, this is not a slam dunk. It's not.
Right.
We talked about this at the Senior Bowl. I talked with Tony Pauline, who first broke the story that it may not be a 50-50 proposition that Mike's coming back even, right? I know where he got that information from. And I'm telling you, I'm not saying Mike is as good as gone, but this is not going to be an easy decision. In other words, there might not even be a contract extension done with Mike before free agency starts. In other words, Mike will field some offers from some teams during the legal tampering period, right? And they'll have, he and Derek Gilmore, his agent, will have 2 days to kind of listen to any offers right there. Mike might want to take some tours, talk to some quarterbacks, go on location and meet with some coaches and offensive coordinators, visit some other teams' compounds and see what they have to offer. So Mike might not make a hasty decision prior to free agency during that legal tampering period. He might go into free agency and go see what's out there. And will he come back after that? He might. But this is not a slam dunk. He is going to be back. This is not a Mike's going to retire or, he'll be a Buccaneer. There is a real chance he could want to go somewhere else. He saw Tom Brady do it. He saw Brady end his career with another team and getting another Super Bowl ring in the process. So does Mike believe that this is a Super Bowl contender in 2026? If he doesn't, and if that's where his heart lies, if that's where, he's not worried about the money, it's about the opportunity to win and get another ring, then he might not be back, folks. That's been our stance all along, right, Matt? I mean, we're not changing our tune. We've said this since the Senior Bowl. And
there are more cracks.
And this report kind of
solidifies it.
Yeah.
There are more cracks in the foundation of the Bucs now than the last time Mike Evans was a pending free agent. So there would be even more of a reason for Mike to go and leave, with the understanding of, Baker's not under contract, after this season, and some of the other players that, might be jumping ship after this as well. So it is not a set done deal at all for Mike Evans. It's not a 0% chance that that he won't be back in Tampa Bay, but Mike has to do what is best for him. And there's only so many receivers and players that have played for one team in their career. Does Mike necessarily care about that as much? I mean, he's not going to lose any fanfare with the people in Tampa. It's not like they're not going to put his name up in the rafters as a Bucs Ring of Honor member. He's going to go into the Hall of Fame as a Buck. I don't think there's any question about that. It's just a matter of, do you want to play with a team that didn't make if the Bucs had won 13 games last season and lost in the NFC Championship game on a late field goal to Seattle, I think the discussion is, hey, how much are they going to sign Mike for? Because Mike's going to want to come back and get the job done. But that's not the case. We're talking about an 8-win team that did not reach the postseason for the first time in 5 years. And you know what? It took Mike a long time to get to the postseason, not because of his own doing, but he likes that feeling of playing in the postseason, playing in big games, winning a championship, which he has done. Once you get that feeling, you don't want to go away from it. So I hope he's back with the Bucs. I hope they can convince him. But I don't know. Mike Evans with Patrick Mahomes, Mike Evans with Josh Allen. I saw someone in the comments talking about that. Mike Evans with a premier quarterback on a winning team. Be hard to say no to.
Yeah, and I think too, you go back to that 3rd and 28 moment, right? Where he was livid at Todd Bowles' defense. And of course, he was a good teammate. He's a team captain. We talked about him after that game about that, and he kind of cooled off, right? But that was a game that was there for the taking, right? 2 touchdown lead with 10 minutes left. And to watch the Falcons come back on 3rd and 28, 4th and 14, convert those on the final drive, kick the game-winning field goal. I'm with you, Matt. I think Mike wants to be in the postseason again. And the fact that the Buccaneers didn't even make the playoffs this year was damning. And we'll see how much that sticks with him. Because here's the thing. People could say, what about his legacy and all that? Like, you don't think John Lynch is not a legend here? Of course he is, right? He certainly is. So to me, I'm looking at this. Yeah, Sapp's a legend. He finished his career in Oakland. Tom Brady, they just put a statue up of Tom Brady. Right? They just put him in the Ring of Honor.
He just bought 10% of the Raiders, however much.
Exactly. Yeah, he won a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers. He just bought the share of the Raiders. He's going to be a forever legend in New England. Mike Evans is the greatest offensive player in Bucs history, right? He's always going to be a legend here. Right. So whether he plays 2 or 3 years elsewhere, not going to change what he's done here. He's going to have all the records. He's going to have the Super Bowl that he won here, right? He'll be in the Ring of Honor here. He'll be going in as a Hall of Famer as a Buccaneer. So it's not going to affect his legacy. That's already secure. So for him, it's just, do I love Tampa Bay and my teammates enough? And I am optimistic about Jason and Todd fixing things here. Or do I just want to do what Tom Brady did and go experience being maybe the missing puzzle piece to help another team unlock the Super Bowl door? Yeah. We'll see.
That we will.
Yep. Well, what we want to do is let you know that I've been talking about the good weather here and how it's not going to be that great in Indy, but the weather is really good here. And now that means one thing in the state of Florida. It's golf weather. I mean, technically it's kind of golf weather year round here, which makes Florida so ideal. But the fact that you have a place like Heritage Isles Golf and Country Club, which you may or may not have played before. It's up in New Tampa, my neck of the woods up here. Picturesque greens. I mean, fantastic laid out course, ranked in the top 3 best value courses in the Tampa, St. Petersburg area by Golf Advisor. For tee times, give them a call at 813-907-7447. They have memberships. It is a country club. You can join that. If you want to just grab some of your buddies and get a foursome and go play, it's open to the public as well. So if you're looking for your new golf challenge, let it be at Heritage Isles Golf and Country Club up in the New Tampa area. Look for them on the web at heritageilesgolf.com or find them on your phone at 813-907-7447. Hit that button and reserve your tee times today because the weather's fantastic.
Let's get some super chats in, shall we? We'll start with Kings Are Awful. Thanks for the $2 super chat. Says, Chase McLaughlin and Baker Mayfield, the only ones worth a damn in terms of these contract extensions. Yeah, I mean, I think the big ones to talk about, really, Baker, we spent most of the show talking about.
Yeah.
Yaya Diaby and Cody Mauch are the ones that come to mind as well.
Correct.
And it's interesting with Mauch because you have a situation where if you sign Mauch to a contract extension, you have all of your offensive linemen at least under contract for more than just one more year.
Correct.
And you would have everyone except for Ben Bredesen under contract for several seasons at this point. And you might be able, because Cody Mauch is coming off of an injury that kept him out for the entire season after the first 2 games, you might be able to get him for like a little bit of a better price than you would if he does play this season.
Right.
And then he either goes to free agency or re-signs with the Bucs.
Yeah.
The problem is we just saw with Zion McCollum where either You prove it or you don't. And Zion didn't have to prove it because they gave him that contract extension, and it did not go well for him that
Correct.
year. And as we saw with Mike, as we saw with Chris Godwin and other players, the Bucs tend to do better when they have their guys prove it in a contract year.
That's
now,
right.
you're going to end up paying more for Cody Mauch. It's whether or not do you believe Cody Mauch will bounce back right away?
Yeah.
Because if you do, then I think, with Jason's love of the offensive line,
Yeah.
seems like that might be the first one they try to get done, maybe even before Yaya, but
Yeah.
Yaya has a good case as well.
Yeah, and I think with Mauch, I think his market would be probably in that $13 to $16 million, right? Depending on how he looks and all that. Now, you might say, all right, well, it's a little questionable, right? He's coming off that knee injury. Don't you want to see how he plays in 2026 before extending him? You want to make sure he's healthy and all that. Well, the good news is with Mauch, you have 3 years worth of tape to evaluate, right? Typically, but you didn't have last year because he missed from week 2 on with that knee injury. So you only have 2 years of tape. Now, the second half of the second season, right, that 2024 season was pretty damn good. He really was emerging as a Pro Bowl fringe offensive guard, right? But when you look at this too, when do the Buccaneers typically do contract extensions? They do them in August, right before the start of the season. So
Yeah.
It might be a thing, Matt, where they take this right up until the first week of September. They see how Mauch performs in training camp. They'll play him in that one preseason game because he's a starter, right? They'll play him a series or two. And if the knee holds up and he looks like he's ready to go and he didn't have to miss any time with a sore knee during camp, then it's a different story, right? Then maybe you feel better about giving him a contract extension and trying to save a couple $1 million, or you just let him play like you talked about with Winfield and Evans. And if he balls out, then he gets 16 million or more. If he goes to the Pro Bowl, he probably gets a little bit more. But I'm okay either way with Cody Mauch, however they want to do it. And I talked to Cody as he was cleaning out his locker. How's the knee doing? Doing great. I feel fantastic. I feel like I'm ready to go. Can do everything I want to do right now. So that's the benefit of having knee surgery after week 2, way back in September, is you had all of football season already rehab. So I would expect we're going to see Cody Mauch participating in the OTAs and being ready to go for training camp for sure.
Bucs fan since Leroy, thanks for the $5 super chat, says article in The Athletic, possible salary cap casualties. D-line, Washington from Baltimore, Robinson from Carolina, Hill from Cincinnati, Hargrave, Minnesota. Any interest for the Bucs?
I don't know. I really haven't. Here's the thing with me and free agency. We used to do Bucs best bets for free agency and all this type of stuff. The problem is, and the reason why we probably do more draft stuff than free agency is you don't know who truly is going to hit the free agent market, right? I mean, some teams are going to cut players, so that if they're a cap casualty, then they're available. But a lot of times with free agency, you don't know who's actually going to make it to free agency.
Right.
Because the team will sit there and say, all right, here's the 2-day tampering window is open. And we saw it with Jamel Dean, right? The team expected to lose Jamel Dean from a couple years ago, right? They thought his market was going to be greater than it was, and it wasn't. So he ended up re-signing with the Buccaneers. It ended up kind of being a steal for Tampa to a degree.
Yeah.
But so in other words, it's just so hard to forecast who's actually going to hit the free agent market and truly be available. You have other teams too that'll sit there and franchise tag players at the very last minute, right? The Bucs are not going to franchise tag Mike Evans, by the way. There's too much mutual respect between Jason Light and the organization to want to make Mike Evans a prisoner in Tampa Bay, right? If he wants to go play somewhere else, the Buccaneers will take the compensatory pick they'll get in 2027 for the big contract he's going to get this year. But they're not going to hold him hostage and say, you're going to play for the Buccaneers this year. Because then Mike could just say, all right, I'm going to retire if he truly wanted to play elsewhere and not in Tampa Bay.
Right. And then he could retire, take a year off, and then come back out of retirement. And the Bucs still hold his rights. But at that point, I think they'll just be like, all right, just give us a draft pick, whatever team wanted to sign him. So I think that's important. And then also, like, some of these players, they're listed as a cap casualty. Doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Correct.
They could take a pay cut, kind of like what Jamel Dean did, and it restructured his contract. And also, like, sometimes with these articles, it was a big publication, but a couple years ago, there was an article like, "Oh, the Bucs should trade Antoine Winfield Jr. because they're going to rebuild and they're not going to pay him." And then they made him the highest paid, safety in the defensive back in the league. So, you got to take some of these articles with a grain of salt. There's thought and logic behind it, but it's not always the most. It's more like, "Hey, wouldn't this be an interesting idea?" Versus like, "This is legit going to happen."
Before we get to the super chat, let's talk about Yaya Diaby for a second as we thank our Pewter Platinum members as their names scroll across the bottom. Greatly appreciate all of our Pewter Platinum members, all of our members for sure, but our Pewter Platinums, they get the call out on the shows here. Yaya Diaby, right? We talked about this yesterday. He is probably going to be hitting $20 to $22 million per year on the free agent market. In other words, if you were to cut him right now, he would get 18 to 20 million. He's probably going to be 20, 22 million when it's all said and done after this season. So it's interesting to note he just changed representation. So he has a new owner. A new agent, right? Yeah. And so you have to wonder, is this going to be a situation where ownership wants to keep doing some of these extensions, right? After what happened with Zion McCollum last year, is that going to kind of give the Blazers some pause and say, well, we did it with Luke Gedeke and he was worth it, but this is also our money and we didn't feel like it was well spent with Zion McCollum, because every candidate for an extension, right, that Mike Greenberg and Jason Light, when they do all their cap calculations, they have to go to ownership and they got to ask the Blazers and say, Yaya this year, he's on the books for, let's see, he's set to make the final year of his contract, $3.8 million. That's his cap hit this year, $3.8 million. And his base salary is 3.6, right? So if you're the Blazers, you're going to be writing a check for him for 3.6 million. Do you want that to be bigger, right? It's not going to be a full $20 million this year because you want to keep the cap value down, but you're going to have to kind of account for that low contract this year and increase salaries in years prior. And do you want to do that, or do you want to see what Yaya can do? And what if Yaya gets 4.5 sacks this year, where he's gone from 7.5 to 4.5 to 7 to 4.5, right? So I don't know, Matt, what do you think? Do you extend Yaya Diaby now? Or if he gets 10 to 12 sacks this year, the millions just start stacking for him and he becomes a big time sought after free agent. And I'll let you know too, if Boye Mafe is worth about $16 million in the free agent market, which that's what the valuations are right now, coming off a 2-sack season as a rotational player on a Super Bowl team, Yaya's worth $20 million right now.
Yeah,
walking out the door.
Which is crazy because you watch him, I don't get the sense of like he's a $20 million guy, but that's the market, and that's guys are getting paid, which is crazy. I mean, if Yaya would agree to a Mafe type of deal, then I think you do extend him.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I think you roll the dice a little bit. And it's always weird, these situations, because as a team, you're kind of rooting against the guy to play well because you don't want to pay him as much. You're rooting for him to play okay, so you can get him at a nice price, and then you root for him to essentially ball out. Yeah. So if you can get Yaya for 18, anything right around $20 million, I think you do the extension. Again, I don't love it, but that's just the nature of how the market is looking. I'm not in love with Yaya as a player. I think he's a great number 2, but if you don't have that number 1, then do you really want to pay that guy $20 million?
Yaya Diaby.
I do love that about Yaya.
Friend of the program.
I do love that part. Yes. Bucs fan since Leroy, thank you for this $5 super chat. Says, who do you see out there as the Mayfield, Darnold, Jones candidate as a successful reclamation project at quarterback? I got one that immediately comes to mind and may have to wait another year. Okay. And I seriously don't mean this as a joke because he's a funny player and he has ties to Tampa. But I really think Jameis, if he's in the right situation, can find a spot and help a team win and be successful. People forget when he was playing quarterback for the Saints up until Devin White injured him. well, not like purposely injured him,
Right,
but
right.
tackled him and James got injured. He was out for the year. Jameis was leading a successful team, a winning team, and he had the best touchdown to interception ratio in the league. People love to clown on Baker for the interceptions. Totally. I get it.
Right.
But what he did with the Browns, that was kind of a little bit of Bucs Jameis of for every great touchdown, there was a big interception as well.
Yep.
But, I watched intently him with the Giants when he got a couple of starting opportunities. And the Giants didn't win, but I can tell everybody that maybe didn't see those games. It wasn't because of Jameis in the offense. It was the defensive side for the Giants. He was precise. He was pretty good leading the offense. I think Jameis,
Yeah.
if you gave him the right type of situation, I think he could lead a playoff team. And obviously, he would still have to cut the turnovers down. But he's several years removed from the 30-30 season.
Yeah.
He's been a backup. He's been humbled. He's had starting opportunities, not insane interceptions all over the place. I think Jameis, he would be my pick for that. And again, not just because he's funny and he's been with the Bucs and everything.
Yeah, I'm going to throw a name out there, kind of like you, not for this year, but for next year because he's still under contract. But Will Levis with the Titans, and the reason I say that is because, like, if you were to go to Jacksonville and be a backup to Trevor Lawrence and work with Liam Cohen again, because Cohen was his offensive coordinator at Kentucky when he became a first/second round draft prospect. Sometimes it just takes the right system and the right play caller to unlock a player. And we saw Dave Canales kind of resurrect Baker Mayfield's career here in Tampa, and then Liam Cohen took it to the next level, right? And so sometimes it's just right system, right fit, right coach, right talent around him. To me, it's fun to see the Sam Darnolds and the Baker Mayfields, and for a minute the Geno Smiths. I love that because the NFL typically sets up quarterbacks to fail. You're going to the worst team, and they probably don't have a good offensive line. They don't have a good defense to give you the ball back when you throw an interception, right? So that interception is going to lead to a touchdown for the other team. It's going to cost you wins, right? So it's just this snowball effect that happens. I mean, sometimes you overcome it. Look at Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, right? That's not the most talented team, but he's slogging away because he's a damn good quarterback. The talent sometimes just shines through, but he's also dealt with a bunch of injuries because their offensive line's not very good, So I love the reclamation projects. I love seeing quarterbacks that were drafted high, that have names. Even Mac Jones, look what he was doing in San Francisco, right? He's still hanging around, still hanging in there, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, I am too. I was trying to look at a list real quick of like quarterback draft classes, but it's so long. But that's definitely one. There's someone else that we're not thinking of that probably has a chance to. Yeah,
let's touch on this, and we'll finish up with some super chats here. But Vita Vea, right? So he's the other guy, 31 years old. Bucs are not going to do an extension with him, even if he wants it, because they don't want to touch that contract. You got to know who Vita Vea is going forward, right? So you want to see Vita, and hopefully he plays with Kalijah. Hopefully they get back to that sack race they had a couple of years ago where Vita's sack numbers go up, his impact plays go up. He's not getting as many double teams, right? Can he stay healthy at age 31, right? There's a lot of factors in there. When these defensive linemen get up into their 30s, 31, 32, etc. Some guys like Calais Campbell, they're studs. They can keep playing forever, right? But I wouldn't want the Bucs to extend Vita Vea right now. I think that they need to let him play that contract year to see where he is physically and from a production standpoint, and then maybe do a 1-year deal, maybe get him on that Levante David deal where you just start stacking 1-year deals and see how he does and see how he feels each year.
Yeah, I think Vita, he's obviously important to the team, but you can prepare to stop a team without him as well. So, Realtor David Sussman, thank you for the $9.99. Says, if I was Mike Evans, I would ask Light for his offseason plans. If it's the same old sitting on his hands, signing third stringers and leaving roster holes, then I would walk and join another team.
This is a really good comment here. Thank you for that, David. And you know what? I think he's exactly right. If I'm Mike Evans, talk is cheap, right? I want to see what is actually going to happen. And this might really work out in the Bucs' favor, because guess what? If you're Mike Evans, say, well, what are your plans? And they say, well, we're going to swing a trade for Max Crosby. Okay. Like let's see that happen first. right?
Yeah.
So if I'm Mike, I say, okay, well, I would imagine you're going to get that deal done on the first day you can, which is the first day of free agency, right? So if I'm Mike, I'm going to sit back and make sure that whatever Jason Light says he's going to do actually comes to fruition. Because you can sit there and have a wish list all you want, but what becomes reality is a different story sometimes. I could wish for this, but if it doesn't happen, then I'm left with that, right? So that's a great point. If I'm Mike Evans and I'm seriously considering the Buccaneers, right, and I got another team out there that I feel is a Super Bowl contender, I'm going to say, you know what? We're going to wait about 48 hours after the start of free agency, right? Because if you want me, you're going to wait too. And Tampa Bay, if you want me now, you're going to want me then. So definitely. I want to see what Jason Light does in the first 24 to 48 hours, see what actually happens, how aggressive they pursue some of these guys, and it can't be well, Mike, we wanted to do this, but we got beat to the punch by that team, or this team outbid us. So, here we are. No, if I'm Mike, I'm doing that. I'm saying, let's see that. And that's only one half of the puzzle, right? The other half is the draft, but you can't wait until April 23rd to see who they're going to draft. So you got to have at least the wheels in motion with free agency. And I'm with you, David. I think that's exactly what Mike should do. And I think that very well could happen.
Right. I've talked about this a little bit before. It's like, I don't think Mike is going to jump the second that free agency starts and says, I'm signing with this team. But at the same time, he doesn't have to. At the same time, like, the Bills also can't just sit around and then be like, okay, Mike, are you coming with us or not? Because they got to allocate enough money to pay Mike.
Sure.
Where if he doesn't decide in enough time, they got to say, I'm sorry, we want you, but like, we got to fill other spots on our team. That money's going to go. So
that's a great point. And we see how rapid fire some of these deals are, right? These deals are reported even before the start of free agency.
The legal tampering day.
The legal tampering period. That's what it's for. So you kind of have an inkling right there. But then we've also seen, right, a couple of deals fall through at the last minute. A deal's reported, and it looks like it's going to get done. And then free agency gates open, and then another team comes in with a better offer at the last minute, and that player backs out of the original deal and goes with the new Johnny come lately. So that's why I'm saying, if I'm Mike, I wait 24 hours after the start of free agency. That gives you 2 days for the legal tampering, 1 day for actual free agency, and then you make a decision. And then I think that's enough time for a team like the Bills or whoever, or the Buccaneers, to figure out what's going to happen with Mike.
And knowing Mike and his numerology and everything, I believe the legal tampering period is March 9th and 10th, or maybe it's 9th, 10th, and 11th, and then free agency starts.
Yeah.
March 13th. That's a Friday. Mike Evans, number 13. That might be the day where he decides if he's going to sign with the Bucs.
That would be something.
Or another team. So
so
keep that out next month.
Yeah, the legal tampering starts on the 8th, which is Sunday, and then it goes through the 9th, which is Monday, and then the 10th is the start of free agency on that Tuesday at 4:00. That's where the league year starts. So I would suspect, Mike will probably know by the 11th for sure, right? And then when do we get the press conference, Matt? We get it on Friday the 13th. So there we go.
Definitely. Yeah. That's probably what will occur with Mike. That'll go down. Michael Moore, speaking of Mike's, thanks for the $10 super chat. We appreciate it. Says, what Tampa does in free agency will determine if Mike stays. No contender, no Mike. Let the young wide receivers take over. Do we really want to pay the hamstring? Talking about his hamstring injury. Well, it kind of goes into what we just talked about, where it's like, Mike wants to see what Tampa Bay is going to do, but he also can't wait 2 weeks. But other teams also can't wait on him. So it's kind of not musical chairs. It's a little bit like bumper cars or roulette and stuff like that. So
I think that's fair to say. Yep.
And then Bucs fan since Leroy, thank you for this $5 super chat. Says, very wary of judging a player in the first year of a life-changing deal. Money changes people, professional athletes too.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's a business, and if you're making the bread, like, you got to perform, right? It's just how it is, right? It's comes down to dollars and cents, and the people over at Jorgensen Law understand that more than anybody. If you've been injured and you are in need of personal legal representation for personal injury, folks, they're the ones to turn to.
Welcome to Jorgensen Law P.A., where our family's legacy drives us to fight for your rights. Specializing in personal injury, workers' compensation, and Social Security, we're committed to winning for you. No fees unless we succeed. Trust in our family to help yours. Let's achieve justice together.
Spencer and Grady Jorgensen, fantastic guys, huge Tampa Bay fans, huge Pewter Report podcast fans as well. So we're asking you to do something. If you are in need of legal representation for personal injury, workers' comp, or Social Security, give them your business. Give them a call. Guess what? You're going to get a free case evaluation when you do, and there's no legal fees at all that you have to pay for until they win for you. I don't know about you. That seems like a bet that I would be worth taking right there. They're the champions of the injured and disabled with an office in St. Petersburg. Give them a call at 727-347-7733. That's 727-347-7733. Or make sure you look them up on the web at jorgenssenlawoffice.com.
We have another comment to get to before we close out the show.
Okay.
Shout out to Hezo813, who's been
Thank
a
you.
Pewter Report YouTube channel member for 18 months.
OG status
So
right there.
Yes, we thank you, and we really appreciate you. Says, I think Light believes he drafted high-level talent, but they haven't been developed. And if it were up to Light, Bowles would have been fired. It's ownership that is saving Bowles. Just my opinion.
You might be right. You
Wink,
might be
wink.
right.
Audible wink for those listening.
You might be right. But I don't know. I'm not Jason Light, but you might be right. But we'll see. Interesting 2026 season on deck. A lot can happen, good or bad. And both of those roads might lead to a coaching change. You never, ever know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see you tomorrow, folks, at 4 o'clock as we have our next Pewter Report podcast. Does Tampa Bay have enough core talent to win with? And then on Thursday's show, the Bucs under pressure in 2026. We got a list. There's a lot of them. Bucky Irving's probably at the top of the list right there. And on Friday's show, the sleeper position, the Bucs must upgrade. That'll be for a Pewter Insider show, and you can access that if you're a Pewter Premier or Platinum member. We thank all of our Pewter people, Pewter Pro, Pewter Premier, and Pewter Platinum members for supporting this YouTube channel. You can do a couple things too. Number one, subscribe to Pewter Report TV. We're on the way to 23,000. Number two, leave a comment. We love reading your comments, and doing those two things helps us with the YouTube algorithm, gets our videos out in front of more awesome Bucs fans, helps our channel grow. And number three, become a Pewter Report TV YouTube channel member for as low as $3.99 a month. It helps us monetarily with the travel budget. We have our trip to Indy on deck next week. Then we're going at the end of March, early April, to the NFL annual meeting out there in Phoenix, Arizona, to talk to Todd Bowles and Jason Light again after free agency. So your support means the world to us. Thank you for helping us grow this channel.
Yes. Real quick, one more super chat.
Sure.
Realtor David Sussman, thank you for the $4.99. Says, if Bucs trade their 15th pick for the Steelers' 21st and a second-round pick next year, plus Chris Braswell, would that be enough in value? I'm guessing you mean for Herbig, because you've mentioned Herbig before.
Yeah.
I would say probably not, because you're essentially trading 6 spots and you're getting a second-rounder plus a throwaway type of player. I don't think that is necessarily enough value, but we appreciate it.
I agree.
The super chat, Realtor David Zussman. You can follow us on X, Facebook, and Instagram at Pewter Report. And our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. As Scott just mentioned, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment on this video, how you're feeling about the Bucs, who they should give a contract extension to, maybe some of the Mike stuff as well. Always love to see everyone's opinions in it. So that's it for today's show. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Petersburg saying thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you soon for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.